This podcast is brought to you with limited interruption by Rudy Luther Toyota. Whether looking for an exciting brand new Toyota, a certified pre-owned vehicle, or getting quality routine maintenance and service for your vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota is the place to go. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley. Broadcasting live from AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and in the evenings on our good friends down at WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Wednesday today. No Jeff Stein today. Apparently, it's the knee high by July is something that he's working on really hard over in Iowa.
I hope he listens when he's not here.
He does. He hears back on this. And so I'll let McGillicuddy get out there to harvest, to sow those fields, Jeff. Get working. I expect some good sweet corn here pretty soon. But good news for you. Our loss, your gain. Dr. Joe Eastman is going to join us coming up here at about 3:33 this afternoon. Give us the latest update on COVID. Also, everything else. The avian bird flu. Sure. Is anthrax coming back? No.
The band?
No. Not a bad band. There are more than a few songs I like of theirs. So, how are you today, Brett? Brett, working with us today.
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing fine. We've had a few on and off showers today, and of course, I'm wearing a white shirt. So, it's one of those things. But I am happy because, all right, one of the things you'll learn about me, I like my gardening. Have you ever seen moonflowers?
I don't think I have, no.
Flowers with the power of the moon. Actually, they blossom at night, and they're gorgeous. And I've been trying to find some, and I got some today. I'm going to get them planted. Hopefully by August here, I'll get some moonflowers coming in at night. I love that. I love having kind of stuff that blossoms all year round. So I got tulips, and then to the lilacs, and then to get to the lilies and stuff like that. And then, but I also like stuff that, you wake up in the morning, you open it, and look at that pretty little moonflower. I do like the fact that I can call it, and I can use a tone like that, moonflower, to describe it there. Because I do like gardening. I've gotten into the point where I do like my gardening. Do you garden at all?
I'm on an upper deck balcony, so I could if I did pots.
Well, you can do it. A lot of people do those window boxes, and those look nice.
That's what I say. I'm not completely excuse free on that, but no, I don't.
Yeah, you're not exactly Amsterdam, huh? All right, no problem. That's all right. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So for the folks in Chicago, a mentality I have during this hour, and for the folks in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I try to do stuff that's more national than just Minnesota, where I'm based out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And the reason why is, I've heard guys that do national shows that everything's talking about the high school football coach down the street, and it's like, oh, for God's sakes, I could care less. I get that. But sometimes we get a gem. We get a gem that goes national. And even though this is a Minnesota story, oh, is this manna from heaven? It's Tommy Tuberville is the dumbest person we've ever sent to Congress. This could be the worst endorsed candidate, Republican Party endorsed candidate in the history of politics. Royce White. Now, I don't know if you've seen the latest. I'll get to this in a second here. Are you parched? Right now, Brett?
I'm, yeah.
You okay? Hold on. I'll have something to help you out here in just a little bit, okay? You'll understand. Now, let me back up two big steps. First of all, Minnesota, this election cycle, our senator up for re-election is Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar is actually one of the more popular senators out there and actually polls pretty well even in red areas. She's not going to probably win some of those red areas, but she's going to pick up a lot of them that most general candidates wouldn't. As a matter of fact, I'll say this. Klobuchar will probably win at least 10 to 15 districts outstate Minnesota that Biden will not win because she has that. And also the Star Tribune up here, Brianna Bierschbach, the writer for the Star Tribune, who is absolutely fantastic. She had a story out a few weeks ago that talked about how her coattails are some of the best in Congress. That when she runs, Democrats in the state of Minnesota get a boost, 2-3 point boost that helps them across the board. Now, Minnesota's the lay of the land in Minnesota. Obviously, the presidential election, Amy Klobuchar is the Senate seat. All 8 of our Minnesota House seats are up for re-election. And then the only other major election is the Minnesota State House. The Democrats have the trifecta. Well, I should say there's an open Senate seat which could give the Senate back to the Republicans, but it's in a district which has been trending more and more blue. Klobuchar, Biden, I think that's, I don't think Trump's going to fly there. So I'm feeling pretty good about that, but we all vote. Everyone votes. But the Minnesota House, Republicans want to try to pick this up. That means winning a lot of suburban seats. So you have to have a candidate. So let's take a step forward to the Minnesota Republican Party. Minnesota Republican Party has to find a candidate. They know it's likely going to get beaten and beaten badly. I think our record for calling Amy Klobuchar races was 14 seconds after they closed the polls last time around. Wasn't that against Neuberger, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. He and the other guy that ran in 2012 gave him a run for his money. 14 full seconds, and we called the election for Amy Klobuchar. It's probably going to be the same thing. There is no real Republican here. But the Republican Party in Minnesota has been, over the years, been going crazier and crazier. We've talked about Paul Gazelka, who at one time was the Senate Majority Leader here in the state. And there's this story that he and the police union head during the George Floyd uprising apparently were discussing, the allegation is they were discussing, and this is an allegation from Bob Kroll, that they were talking to the Trump White House at that point to, I guess, usurp Governor Walz, install him as the commander of the state, and put Bob Kroll in as the commandant of the Minneapolis police or something of that nature. I'm not sure. But there's that allegation. Kurt Doubt, who is the Speaker of the House for the Republicans for many years, he actually put a mute button into the Speaker's chair to basically, because nothing says freedom of speech more than a mute button. So you can see they've gone down the crazy car train. And like every other Republican Party in this country, the Minnesota Republicans, they have been infiltrated by these just amazingly large, dumbass Republicans whose only existence is for their Twitter trolls. that's it. They want their Twitter trolls to tell them, you're the coolest, think Cobra Kai. That's who these guys are. And they, only Cobra Kai, only none of them, seem to be very physically active. But that being said, you kind of get the point. It's basically these people who are more concerned about their social media accounts than they are about the party, a cohesive message, or doing that. So the Republican Party had They were basically, they've got to find somebody who is going to be able to hold their own, at least to possibly let them make the House race in Minnesota somewhat close, maybe make it somewhat, a little bit more viable, that sort of thing. But what ends up happening is they have a guy named, I guess it's Joe Frazier. Now, and this is your standard Republican candidate in a case like this against Amy Klobuchar. I think he's a West suburban financial guy. I'm not sure about this detail because, frankly, this person was going to get destroyed by Amy Klobuchar in the election. I wasn't really paying attention. The Republicans had their endorsement convention, and out of the blue, with Steve Bannon basically with his, pushing him out on the stage, Royce White, a former NBA player and a guy with more baggage than Greyhound buses, he comes in and he gets by 60-some%, the GOP endorsement for the seat. Now, it's not the primary. The primary comes up in August, but he is the Republican-endorsed candidate for Senate. He is a nightmare candidate. He has been misogynist. He has been anti-Semitic. He has been anti-LGBTQIA. He basically sits on, he's got a litany of absolutely insane social media posts. And, of course, then there's the paying for, what is it, $1,200 at a strip club out of campaign cash down in Miami. Wasn't he just buying that for food, though, he said?
He says it's for food, but that's a lot of food. So, you've got the stage. You still parched over there, Brett? Let me help you out.
Ready to go, yep.
Let me help you out. On Tuesday evening, Royce White, the Minnesota GOP endorsed candidate to challenge U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, posted a map on Twitter with the following caption: "Crime in Minneapolis is out of control." Come on now. Refund the police. Godspeed. Hashtag Godspeed. The sentiment was standard fare for the political party that often seeks to make crime a centerpiece of its election campaigns. And trust me when I say this, much like Chicago is vilified by Republicans in the state of Illinois, same thing here. Minneapolis, St. Paul is a no-go zone full of crime. Wait, is it no-go or is it full of crime? Is it a ghost town or is it just overrun? What is it? You guys don't even have a consistent message. All right. So pretty standard stuff from the Republicans today. By the way, one quick side note about this map. It did not show crime in the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, but rather the location of 195 public drinking fountains in the city. I didn't even realize we had 195 public drinking fountains in the city of Minneapolis. That's what I was saying. Are you thirsty? Have we got a map for you? You've got to see this sucker. They're everywhere, man. Tons of them. You need a drink? We've got it. Land of 10,000 Lakes. You're welcome. He posts a map of the drinking fountains in the city of Minneapolis and says, look at all the crime scenes. Yeah, it's a crime I couldn't get a drink fast enough, man. Keeping away the heat stroke.
In his defense, if I'm doing drug deals, they're always going to be at a drinking fountain in Minneapolis.
You know, if you are pulling off a crime, staying hydrated is the most key here.
Well, that's key, too. That's a very good point. So maybe he's on to something.
Or on something. I don't know.
That too.
It's the latest in a long line of embarrassments for the candidate who himself has pled guilty to theft and disorderly conduct. He's falling behind on child support, played fast and loose with campaign finance. He's basically denigrated women, LGBTQ people, described himself as an anti-Semite. So, yeah, he's not doing too well, but he is the gift that keeps on giving. Because here's what I say. I'm afraid to say this. I mean, he's a nightmare candidate for the Republicans. I love him. I mean, he's going to torpedo the Republicans up and down the ticket in Minnesota. But I'm afraid if you say that, if I'm, liberal Matt McNeil, and I'm saying this, that Republicans at one point would say, oh, gosh, obviously this is not what we want to do. Let's go get the other guy. Instead, though, there's enough of these crazy trained people that hear this stuff and they don't care. I think he's going to be the nominee. By the way, he's very angry with Keith Olbermann, who made fun of him for mistaking gun violence to water fountains. You pencil-necked dweeb, White declared on X. Cobra Kai. Now you just look desperate. Now, I added the Cobra Kai. Okay, that wasn't him. That was me. The comment came in response to Olbermann posting that basically that White isn't a freaking idiot. And I cleaned that up a little bit. Hey, let's go get a drink at the fountain. We'll come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950 and at WCPT.
Take my time.
I'm a hog for you, baby.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Boy, I'm thirsty. Finally knew where I could find a water fountain in this city. Oh,
well, you don't want to get mugged when you go to this water fountain either.
No, it doesn't, because nothing screams crime zone like water fountains. It's bubbler. It's just might as well say crime scene on it. That's why every one of them's got yellow tape around them. That's what it is. You brought up an interesting question, Brett, which is actually a very good question.
Yeah, and feel free to chime in on this. What is the dumber thing? Royce White obviously making this crime scene map and having that turn out to be just drinking fountains, or Donald Trump drawing on the hurricane map, trying to show where it's going to go with a Sharpie?
I'll say this, the hurricane map was more pathetic. I mean, that just showed, I think what that moment proved to us was how desperate Trump was for us to take him seriously. And so that was definitely the most desperate of the two. But that's one for the ages right there. I'm not exactly sure. 952-9466.
Like a chicken and the egg question.
That both of them are pretty stupid. Okay, so one of the things I just really quick want to touch on here in regards to
The Southern Baptists are meeting right now. And I want to talk a little bit about this, but I want to preface this by saying I'm currently, and I've been dealing with, for many, many years, I've been part of this group. And, we make decisions and stuff like this. I don't want to say which group it is or anything like that, but it's a group of people that meets on a fairly regular basis, and we have some discussions and we have some meetings. And the rule has always been is that, the majority rule. If we have to have a vote on something and the majority of us vote for that something, then that's what happens. And there are people that are in this group, I should say, that whenever they are in the majority and say I or anyone else in this group votes against them, they get their wagon finger out real quick and it's like, well, the majority rules, Matt, majority rules. But it's annoying because when they are on the losing side, the reaction is, and yes, this person is a Republican. The reaction is, you're jamming this down our throat. How come you're not listening to my point of view? This is tyranny sort of mentality sort of thing. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you kind of get the point. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, don't act as if the system is fair when you win, but when you lose, act like some sort of grand injustice happened when you just lost. And this goes for standard Republicans. When Republicans, and I say Republicans, but I say when the Christian right, when they get into something where they when it comes to religion itself, if they feel as if they're in the majority, they are very, very loud about what they want to do. They will scream it in your face, particularly abortion rights or in vitro fertilization or LGBTQ rights. They're very quick to scream at DEFCON 9 about the how this injustice is, how you have to stop this because Jesus, that sort of thing. The funny thing about Republican conservative right people that are in religions is that when you point out direct teachings of Jesus that they gleefully ignore. The Gospel of Matthew is whole one of them. And once again, my religious disclaimer, you do or don't do whatever it is you do or don't want to do. I am a Christian. The Gospel of Matthew tells you, these are direct teachings from Jesus, the man that makes Christians Christian, telling us to feed the hungry, take care of the sick, shelter the homeless, welcome in the stranger from the strange land. When you bring this up to them, all of a sudden they're not nearly as vocal about it. They get real quiet. They go, how dare you? My religious relationship with God is between me and him, and that's it. Because they don't have an answer for that. They don't have an answer for why do you basically twist the words of the Bible in secondary and tertiary books of the Bible to basically try to make it seem like Jesus wanted people to hate people, but when it's Jesus's direct teachings in the book, the things that should matter, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, when those things come on out, all of a sudden you get really quiet, and you don't want people to scream. You don't want to talk about it. It's all of a sudden private. I don't like that hypocrisy. That's just hypocrisy. Frankly, I don't know any right-wing Republican Christian person right now who puts out their anti-abortion and their anti-LGBTQ, but then immediately turns around and with the same vocal intensity talks about feeding the hungry and taking care of the sick and welcoming in strangers from strange lands. They don't do that. The lines of religion have been drawn, and it's one side, it's your religion basically just talks only about abortion or LGBTQ rights, and the other side is, well, the Bible. It's heaven forbid, Anyway, I bring both of those points up because I want to mention the Southern Baptists voted today to oppose the use of in vitro fertilization. The vote was an indication of that ordinary evangelicals are increasingly open to arguments that equate embryos to human life, and that 2 years after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, fetal personhood may be the next front of the anti-abortion movement. Oh, yeah, it's going great for you guys right now. More than 10,000 delegates, basically it's 10,000 delegates. The Southern Baptists are 13 million people. Now, I want to put this in perspective really quick. That is 4% of the population of the United States. So as much as we're talking about 13 million, the population of the U.S. is 330 million. This is a small minority of the population but yet because, they scream really loud when it comes to abortion or gays, that basically, they get a lot of attention. But it is a minority opinion. They've gathered in Indianapolis for the denomination's annual meeting, which is closely watched as a barometer of evangelical sentiment on a variety of cultural political issues. The vote on Wednesday was the first time that attendees in the Southern Baptist meeting have addressed the ethics of in vitro fertilization directly. In 2021, the group passed a resolution declaring unequivocally that abortion is murder. The resolution proposed Wednesday called for the Southern Baptists to reaffirm the unconditional value of right of life of every human being, including those in an embryonic stage, and that only utilize reproductive technology is consistent with that affirmation, especially with the number of embryos generated in the in vitro fertilization process. A vast majority of the delegates opposed abortion, but fertility treatments are widely used by evangelicals because it's, creating a baby. Although the process of the in vitro fertilization often results in the destruction of unused embryos, many Southern Baptists see that as fundamentally different from abortion because the goal of fertility treatment is to create a new life. Once again, I want to make sure we understand these people, this is 4% of the population of the Southern Baptists. There is a large portion of that want to force the other 96% of us to do what they say they want us to do, that they want us to do. And we need to keep this in mind. You need to pay attention to what's going on here because as Republican appeal dwindles, these large voting blocks get more and more power. And they've already had some attempts to enshrine in vitro rights into federal law, and Republicans have derailed it because they are only concerned about this 4% of the population that says you need to be against this. So this is more a heads up and keep it out there. But the reality is they will force this on us if they can. And you need to keep that in mind. Dr. Joe, when we return, it's the Matt McNeil Show. Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk and in the afternoons on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Usually at this time of the week, we have Jeff Stein joining us, but unfortunately he is busy. But hey, I'd say we upgraded. Dr. Joe Eastman is kind enough to join us today to give us the latest on COVID, on avian flu, and any other thing that's trying to wipe us off the planet. Hey, Dr. Joe, how are we today?
I'm doing wonderful. It's just beautiful up here.
Oh, and for everyone, he's up in northern Minnesota, which is, you got a nice little place on the lake up there, right?
Yeah, the Northerns are biting like crazy right now. It's just been a blast.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for taking time off the dock with us.
My pleasure.
I did just see a story today on some of these new variants of COVID that are out and actually starting to increase. And as a matter of fact, becoming the primary concerns at this point. Why don't you give us the latest on COVID, where it's at right now? Are we in an increased zone, or is it kind of plateauing, or are we getting decreased?
Yeah, we're kind of on a precipice right now. My model is predicting a surge coming around within the next couple of weeks, a considerable one that builds up all the way through the end of September and gives us about what we had last January. Mm-hmm. The newest one to watch out for, it's called LB.1, and that comes from the JN.1.9 series. And it's already the most dominant in New York, but it's just come out of nowhere in the last CDC analysis. And, of course, KP3 overtook KP2 like my model said it would. So I think we got a pretty good track, and I'm currently in the process of doing forecasts for Australia and Europe now. I got a bunch of colleagues that really want to see my model results, so I've been really busy.
Well, and by the way, you're working with the World Health Network, correct?
That's correct.
That's
yeah.
right. You're working with the World Health Network. And Dr. Joe's resume, I mean, NASA, the LRTE, he's worked with many of these groups. He's been part of these. The reason why they come to him is because he's super smart, and we should be listening to him, for goodness sakes. You brought up these variations. Are we something that I think about a year or two, maybe 2 years ago, you had brought up is the concern that you were having is eventually these lines start to branch. And sure, as you get a new variant, some variants fail, and they don't really go that far. Some variants get more traction, and other variants fall off as that happens. But are we seeing now a consistent spreading of variants to where it's, we're getting past the point of one main variant being our biggest concern? When you talk about LB1 and KP3, I mean, it sounds like both of them combined are trouble right now. Are we seeing more variants out there?
Yeah, it's you're right. It was like a year ago when I brought this up. We're sitting at what I call a variant swarm. And they, at that time last year, we just saw just a huge amount of different variants, but none of them really took off. What's different this time is they all came from BA.2.86, but then we got all kinds of branches. The branches are accelerating. The evolutionary rate of this thing keeps going up by about 20 to 25% every year. And we're in a whole new territory right now. I'm seeing immune escape values, which mean you might have had an infection from JN1, say, and these guys are like, sorry, we don't even see you.
Wow.
we're coming in, and it's we're at about 450,000 new infections every day. And they just came out with a huge study on long COVID, and I think people are starting to wake up that this is not economically or health-wise sustainable. We have to do something to stop this darn thing.
Well, you'd think that'd be common sense, but we are dealing in this country. We have the Republicans who will allow their own voters to die before they actually want to try to help them, and it makes it frustrating. And I'm not saying the Democrats are necessarily doing much better either. I should say that. We'll get to long COVID here in a second, but with LB1, KP3, any other varieties, are there? We understood the symptoms that you should look out for 2020, 2021. Are the symptoms changing at all? Are we seeing how these viruses attack our bodies, coming at it in new and different ways?
Yeah, it is. There's a branching towards going after specific organs.
Oh, God.
Which is just pleasant, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And here's the thing that really pretty much freaked me out yesterday. They're looking at the biochemical and how this works inside your body, the virus, and it's starting to show signs of what would you call it? Cancer type behavior, where it's definite. It's obvious. We are getting more cancer cases now, and you can't deny what one of the likely contributors is, and that is the COVID SARS-2 virus.
So we are looking at a cancer. I mean, and I know this is making it simplistic, and I know that sometimes is the enemy of science. But is it a cancer virus at this point?
No, I wouldn't call it that. But what it does is it alters a lot of the structures in your cells and enables serves as a trigger mechanism for the cancer to emerge, because you all got dormant cells sitting in your body. They're just waiting to come out sometime, and just the right thing happens. And we are definitely seeing that now. A guy from Finland that I've followed now for 4 years has been documenting this forever. And everybody just he's just a statistician. I'm like, statistics don't lie if you do it right,
Yeah, just a quick side note, if I can. For all those people out there just saying a statistician or numbers guy, shut up. These are the only people that are saving us right now because, frankly, and I'll go back to the ripping on the Democrats, too, we don't have – the health agencies are just not taking this as seriously as they need to right now. And clearly they need to be taking it more seriously. So if not for the statistician showing us the actual numbers, we wouldn't know a damn thing at this point. And Dr. Joe you tell me when Dr. Joe has been wrong. You've not been wrong. I mean, it's thank God you're around giving us this information, frankly. So you have this. Let's go to long COVID now. And once again, this is one of those things where it's a disease that is developing in front of our eyes. And so, and we talked about how it's affecting kids more, it's affecting organs more, it's affecting the brain more. What are some of the latest things? Has there been any new developments when it comes to long COVID and observations?
Well, I think one of the main things is it's getting acceptance by the medical community. You know, they used to just kind of poo-poo it off and say, oh, yeah. And I know so many people that go into their doctor and they're like kind of looking at them with a little gaze. Yeah, right. You're really experiencing that. A recent study just came out yesterday, and it shows that if you have long COVID, you can measure the cognitive decline. People report it subjectively, you know, based on their personal experience, but they have neurological exams now that can tease this out. And sure enough, if you have long COVID, it shows up clear as a bell. And if you just had one infection, it will show up in some of the results. And it's just the brain fog and ability to solve spatial problems. All these things are waning in people even after one infection.
Is it something where we could be looking at a future epidemic of, say, Alzheimer's or dementia with this?
It's manifesting that in that way, and it does. I mean, just a single infection ages your brain. Some studies say up to 10 years. I'm not sure how long. They're kind of all over the map, but gosh, they're all showing it. So it does exist, and people just are kind of like getting against vaccines now, and I'm like, well. A recent study just came out and showed, you know, how people complain, oh, it made me feel terrible and whatever. It turns out if you do show that side effect of not feeling good, your antibodies measurements will go up 40 to 60% over somebody that doesn't show any side effects from the vaccine. So the side effects are actually a good thing in a way.
But I think I mean, let's go back to old school medicine, a fever. You don't give a kid a medication, an aspirin or something like that with a fever. The fever's burning off the infection. That kind of mentality. Sometimes, I mean, that does make some level of sense, is that if your body's under more, it feels like it's under more of attack, your body's going to get those white blood cells going.
Yep. Yeah. You're spot on with that. It just shows that your body is reacting to it, but it's building up the antibodies, which also create, you can enhance your cytokines that kind of cause the inflammation and all that type of stuff in your joints. So that's why you feel achy and not too happy about it.
Dr. Joe Eastman joining us right now. Of course, you mentioned New York. Of course, people are listening in Chicago right now. Any news out of Chicago? I mean, obviously, if New York is getting, was it LB1 on record levels, has there been any signs out of Chicago, what they're seeing?
This is really interesting because I'm starting to notice that, and I've said this for a long time, we're seeing a lot of local outbreaks. Right now, Hawaii is just, oh gosh, they're on fire right
really
now. And in California, in the San Francisco area, but I'm seeing more of this localized. And I kind of predicted this, that, pandemics are global, but their evolution and development is very local based on what your history was and how you vaccinated people and how you masks and all that. Yeah, I mean, red states are still higher in COVID deaths and infections by a clear margin. So,
well, and their whole solution was just to stop talking about it at all and say, "Hey, see, problem solved."
Right.
You brought up Hawaii, okay, and now you said Australia. What's the other country that's been in touch with you wanting to get some of your modeling?
I work pretty closely with a French scientist, just a brilliant man. And France, they had the Taylor Swift concert indoors, and I think it was 3,500 people afterwards reported that they were having the COVID symptoms and everything, out of about 20,000 in there. So, yeah, these indoor venues are pretty scary right now.
Tay-Tay's okay, right? Tay-Tay's all right, isn't she? I like Taylor Swift a lot. I don't want her getting COVID. Is it one of the variants that you'd mentioned, or is it a new variant over in France that's giving the problems over there?
I think it's KP3, but I can't be sure. It could be LBB1, but Portugal's the other spot. Spain also had an outbreak after a Taylor Swift concert, but they had better ventilation and it wasn't so severe. So we got schools coming back. Remember that. We should be on top of this right now.
So that's a good point. We are now into summer vacation for most American kids at this point. What has generally been 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023? What was the pattern we saw during those times and those months where, on one side of it you say, okay, we're not confined to the schools anymore, but, kids are out hanging out. You talk about concerts, got the state fairs that are coming on and stuff like that. What is been the trajectory the last few summers?
Yeah, it is basically right around middle of August through September, Labor Day and such. You'll see a building in the number of cases as the kids go back to school. And people say it's seasonal. I just toss that out the window. This thing is beyond that. There's reasons why influenza is seasonal, and it has to do with the biological structure and affects the cold air on your mucus lining and such. But this bugger is not seasonal. It's cyclic. And, the highest rated variant coming out of the soup, it doesn't necessarily translate into the one that emerges as a dominant one. We're starting to tease all these little things out about the patterns of COVID.
We're going to have to take a break here, but reminder really quick, everyone, there are updated vaccination shots. Get those, correct?
Yep.
Make sure you stay up to date on your vaccinations. And it's not perfect, but it's going to help you out a lot. And once again, this is not over, and it's not going to be over for a while. We're going to take a break. When we come on back, why not go down the happy path of avian flu? Why not? Dr. Joe Eastman, kind enough to join us. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Wednesday. And once again, Dr. Joe Eastman in with us today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. All right, we've gotten a lot of COVID stuff done, Dr. Joe. Now let's go back to the avian flu. It seems when we had our first in Minnesota, we had our first herds here start getting some cows that had some avian flu in them. Where is this at? Once again, the fact that it can go from birds into mammals, this is a kind of a nightmare scenario at this point.
It definitely is, and the fact that the herds in Minnesota were not linked to interstate travel, so it came from migration, and migration doesn't know borders, and they come from Europe and Asia to Australia, etc. It's just all over the place. So we're up to 85 herds now in 10 states, and people, when they think of herds, they're like, oh, that's 50, 100 cattle. No, we're talking big honking thousands of cattle in these herds. And it comes back to our whole model of corporate farming and penning these animals up in these confined areas. And you're just asking for it. Mm-hmm. In order to prevent that, we're sitting there injecting them with all kinds of different drugs. We have no idea what that's going to do. But this is a problem that will continue unless the USDA gets off its rear end and starts doing what it's supposed to do.
I'm the cynic here, and I will tell you what's going to happen is they're not going to do a damn thing until you and I have talked about these steps that the avian flu would have to take. But if all of a sudden it happens and it's everywhere, the only thing they're going to do is make sure all those farmers get huge checks at the expense of all of us, and that's they're going to make sure they get their payday, and then all of a sudden, we've got a massive health crisis. Then they might start getting concerned about us. How many human beings? What's the update on people infected with avian flu by just being near cows at this point?
Yeah, in the United States, we're up to 4 now, but again, there's all these people on the watch list and the most recent one was May 29th, I believe. And the scary thing about that was it was in the respiratory tract. They didn't have the bloodshot eyes that are typical of the farm workers that are getting this. And that did. It suggested to me that the first step in this mutation had probably happened, and it's called the PB2 protein. And that's the first step of a 4 that will...
That it goes airborne. That it goes airborne.
Right. We got a few more to go, but it's not airborne, of course, yet. But it's making its way down that road, and there's another important thing that we need to be doing, and people, they now have a 3-in-1 test that does COVID, influenza A and B. Well, the avian flu will show up as influenza A, and we need more testing. We're not seeing any genetic samples from the humans and all these different aspects.
Two points about this, which are really terrifying. First of all, you said the last report was out on May 29th. Is that just because there's lag time, or are they just not putting out reports as they need to be doing?
I believe they're not putting out what we need to hear. Dr. Rick Bright is a former consultant under Trump, kind of leading the COVID task force, and boy, he is just in an utter panic right now. So I mean, all the people I know are really freaking out at the delays. We're not getting any serology reports, nothing, and we can help them. We can pull this stuff apart for them.
Well, and then it comes in the other part. You talk about getting out there and getting this testing done. Well, we've already seen what's happened to rural health care in this country. It's been decimated. Oh. So unless we're sending hospitals on out, the universities on out into these rural communities with the testing strips and getting, setting this up in advance so we can get every farm worker tested, there's no way on the planet we're going to find out about this until it's too late.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And a lot of the farm workers, are immigrants, and they're worried about their immigration status and things like that. I mean, it's an absolute mess. They're very hesitant to report themselves and get tested and such. And I can't blame them.
Well, and it's gone. It's possibly gone. It's more than likely gone airborne. It's not airborne human to human yet. It's airborne cow to human, right?
Could be,
or like it could be the birds. I guess. Well, technically, it could be because there's birds in these, in these beef lots too. Could be coming from the birds that's getting airborne, but it's coming from somewhere and it's getting in to humans via airborne, more than likely.
Yeah, and we just had what was it? The first fatality in Mexico, and another one in I'm trying to think. I think it was China. Different type. It wasn't H5N1. But still, there's all kinds of types of this. So you watch out for the H5 and the H7 and the H9s. Those are the nasty ones.
And then the last thing here we got to touch on here is that the one thing you and I have been talking about is milk, dairy products, beef products. Obviously we just had I think it was a chicken farm or a turkey farm that they had it, and they eradicated all the turkeys. But so far, that's not happening with the beef farms. How concerned, once again, are we about what's in the beef supply and the dairy supply at this point?
Yeah, I mean, when I see somebody like a Dr. Feigelding reporting that he overheard that McNeil's might be buying some of the beef cattle that have proven to be infected. I mean, stuff like that. I'm sure it's going on. They can't lose all that money. It's a couple $1,000s a head that they've invested in these animals. So I am very concerned about it, and that's another thing they've dawdled on. Just a new study came out in Ontario today that questioned the pasteurization effectiveness in killing the avian flu virus.
Well, what I'm going to say is this. We don't know where this is going, but that's the problem. We don't know where this is going. So it's, I'm going to trust you, but I'm going to make sure to say we don't know exactly what the case may be, and we might hear something, but we don't know. But what I'll say is we need to have a much bigger oversight of what the heck's going on with this. And with that, we get to end our sunshine happy time minutes. Like this. Dr. Joe Eastman, he's got his blog. I'll post that. If you're not following, for God's sakes, follow it. You need to hear this stuff. Yes, it's not pleasant, but my God, he is out there trying to save as many of us as we can. Follow his blog. I will see you before too long, sir.
All right. I look forward to it, Matt.
All right.
Thank you.
Dr. Joe Eastman, kind enough to join us. Chicago, have a good one. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next. Hour number 2 of the show here on your Wednesday. Nice to have you with us today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I will say this about Dr. Joe. Yeah, that's some hard truth, man. But no one else is going to tell you the truth right now. And it doesn't mean you need to go lock yourself in your basement in the fetal position, although it makes you want to feel like it. But you need to be smarter about what's going on out there than just everything's fine, because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. All of a sudden, one day, every news outlet in the country is going to be like, hey, by the way, avian flu is a lot worse. And the next day after that is like, avian flu is a major problem. And next thing it's going to be, five alarm fire. And that's what it's going to be. And here's Dr. Joe the entire time saying, we better be careful. And because we don't want to be inconvenienced anymore. Yeah, we'll let the viruses win. Yay, go team, go. 952-946-6205. Yesterday, Brett, you and I talked about the spectacular list. Travel and Leisure picked up this article as well, of the happiest cities on the planet.
Oh, yes.
Remember this. And strangely enough, and usually we do not do well. European cities kind of dominate this, a few Australian cities, maybe a Canadian city or two. But for the most part, the United States doesn't do too well in these lists. We might get one city in the top 50, but once again, that's generally it. The happiest cities. These are the places where the people are happiest. And of course, we can thump our chest pretty proudly here in Minnesota, because Minneapolis is the 18th happiest city in the world. The world. It's the 18th happiest city in the world. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. Posted the story last night. Everyone, pat yourself on the back, feel happy. Why? Because Minneapolis, St. Paul kicks ass. That's why. We have a great city. Have you seen how many water fountains we have? They are exceptional, man.
Heard, someone made a map of them, which is kind of helpful.
That is thinking. That is some proactive damn thinking right there. I'm parched a little bit. Oh, here's a water fountain over here. Thank you, Minneapolis. That's not going away anytime soon, man.
Or thank you, Royce White, for making that map, of course.
Did he take a Sharpie to the map so he can add in like part of St. Louis Park?
Wait, we never debated that. What if he did make up some drinking fountains?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, did he? It's like, did he add drinking fountains to make it look like there was more fluid refreshment in the city than there really was? You clowns have done this to yourself. We are laughing because you have walked into the rake yet once again. Anyway, so I want to make sure I paraphrase what I have been. It's not been as bad as usual. I'll say that. It's not been as bad as usual, but I will say I have had to block 12 people on Twitter who are doing the, it's the hellhole! It's the worst city on the planet! Nobody wants to live there! I always love, yes, I think we all, raise your hand if you say that Nicollet Mall is not nearly as busy as it used to be. Ta-da! Yeah. Things change. Have you been downtown? First of all, to the idiot that told me Hennepin Avenue is abandoned, what are you talking about? Every time I have gone downtown in the last 3 months, Hennepin Avenue on Friday, Saturday nights is packed to the freaking gills, man. I mean, it is packed down there. First Avenue is packed down there. There are tons of people downtown. But, yes, you're right. Things change. I got bad news for you about the Schinders, the Donaldsons, and the Woolworths. They're all gone. They're all gone. Did you know there used to be a McDonald's drive-thru on Hennepin Avenue? I saw this 1978 piece about, it was Dave Moore on 4. Dave was trying to do the gritty city talk about the people, the population, Hennepin Avenue. It's where we're all at. The people in the ivory towers look down on this, the heartbeat of the city down here. And there's a McDonald's. I was like, where the hell was the McDonald's down there? That closed. I guess zombies at town, I guess.
there used to be one down there. Do you have any idea where that was?
No, and I'm trying to imagine the traffic jams that thing could cause with.
Oh, there wasn't that much traffic. He was really upselling the amount.
Okay.
This was back when
I guess, you were talking 70s, not current
70s.
times.
The 70s, this was back when Minneapolis, in its post-flower heydays, was trying to kind of make sure it stayed kind of relevant and made it seem like the seedy city sort of thing. Yeah, okay, no. It wasn't. Now it's a much different vibe, man. Now it's a much different vibe. But it was, they showed like Schindler's and the Nanking and the Skyway. It used to be down there. Oh, God. I remember that was not the most pleasant place to be. But you go down there now, we got what, 4 theaters? We got Dudley Riggs down there, too. So we got the stages, Pantages, the state, Pantages, not Northrop, what's the other one down the...
Guthrie, you're talking?
No, not the. Well, Guthrie's over on the Washington Avenue side. What's the one the one down where they do Broadway and Hennepin? Oh, it's right next to Tony and Tina's place. The place where they did Tony's and Tina's forever, and they do Dudley Riggs over there now. I'm
drawing a blank on that one too, unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you. It's not Northrop. No, it's not Northrop. And it's going to. This is going to. I'm sorry, folks. I got to derail this because it's going to blow. This is going. Yep, it's going to be one of those things, and unless I go look at it right now, I'm just going to. Matt's not a really good Minneapolis person if he doesn't do this.
It's going to be in the back of your mind the whole show, too.
What's
the theater? Yeah.
It would be. No, it's not the Hampton Inn and Suites. Where is it? It's not Infinity Smokes. Okay, where? Come on. Where is this? Oh, there it is. It's that would be. No, that's not. That's the Legend Lounge.
State Theater?
Orpheum. Thank you.
Orpheum.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Duh. Sorry. This is called deconstructed radio, folks. This is all we're doing here. This is, if you ever wanted to know, it's just me and Brett talking. That's all. This is all this is. Anyway, but we have that down there. We got a ton of businesses down there. They're busy. All the hotels. Have you noticed that the hotels seem to be a lot busier down on Hennepin now lately? I know a lot of people who are staying at the hotels in downtown Minneapolis. I know this. All the bars, restaurants, Target Field, Target Center, First Avenue. Man,
Yeah,
the place is great, man.
Yeah, it's crowded, but different than it was before the pandemic. It's not so much,
Gay 90s,
commuters
man.
down there. Yeah.
Gay 90s, man, the hood of town. And that's just one area. We go to On the Rocks over, the Roxy's and all that. The cabaret that's down on the end on Nicollet Mall, which, by the way, that whole area is still pretty kicking. You go to the north end of the Nicollet Mall, and then Washington Avenue. Dude, Washington Avenue was a bunch of freaking empty parking lots. It was nothing. I remember my dad took me to the old spaghetti factory out there, and it was like did they film the Omega Man here? Where is everything? There is nothing here but pavement. Oh, God. And now it's all apartment complexes, and they're all full, and it's restaurants and coffee shops and boutiques. Great. North Loop is off the freaking hook. You can't find a place in the North Loop right now. Anything across the river, over by Comancheck, Surdix, up that area, this town kicks butt, man. I was up when I went and did Art of World. That whole area. Holy God, has that place come back. That whole northern and northeast part of town, amazing. Amazing how busy that's gotten. Go to any of the major intersections on the south side. Lyndale and Lake Street. People let me know they got the construction going down there, but people lament that Uptown is not there. Uptown still's got a ton of stuff going on down there. You got Lyndale and Lake Street, Nicollet and Lake Street. You got each street is packed to the gills every freaking night. This town is amazing. And then that doesn't include the lakes, doesn't include the parks, doesn't include the incredibly attractive people. Hi there. How you doing? You can see me on I'll be out there hiking the Pride Parade, all right? Look forward to seeing you out there. Everyone out there. Because you know what? This city's hot AF, okay? Can I get a shirt that says that? Hot AF? I don't know what AF means, but I mean, my kids tell me it's good. Anyway.
Also fine.
Also, another friend.
Yeah, it's another friend. Yeah.
You guys just want to sit and hate. What is wrong with you people? Why are you here? Well, you're probably not here. You're probably in Albania going, Minneapolis bad. Albania man, think you bad person. Yeah, okay, fine. But if you really are here in Minnesota, why are you here? You don't like the state? Get out. Go. And I'm not saying this. I am actually saying this as your only friend because no one else is obviously saying it to you.
You got one trip on this rock, this spinning rock in space. You got one trip on it, and you are deciding to be miserable. Fine. Go to the most Republican part of the most Republican state. Be happy. Go do it. The excuses you make that say that I can't leave are garbage. You know it. I know it. You're just making it up. So either you really like being here and you're just afraid to admit that, or else you are miserable and you need to leave. Because trust me, you will be happier and we will be happier too. Minneapolis, the number 18 city in the world, and we're already pretty freaking happy about it. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I'll tell you what, let's take a break a little early here. Come on back. I've got to get into a story which I am somewhat stunned has not been talked about, and it involves a draft pick for our brand new championship women's hockey team. And it's not good. I'll get to that here in a second. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
I run the days into the night. I feel my heart is going rogue here.
Hi, my name is Caddy from Minnesota Recovery Connection.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. If you heard yesterday, I was on Patty's show down in Chicago, Patty Vasquez, who I love. I really do. She is fantastic. You can hear her at 9 o'clock weeknights right here on AM 950. And you heard my segment with her last night there. She's fantastic. I mean, absolutely. I could listen to Patty Vasquez all day long. She is just so good. I made this comment last night on the show when I was talking to her because I'm a vet. And as we are in Pride Month, there is this horrible narrative that's coming on out that is, it's people who basically don't like gay people, don't like the LGBTQ population, themselves, I would encourage them to talk to a psychologist or a counselor themselves, maybe, but for some reason they have these, vicious, mentalities towards the LGBTQ population. And as soon as we get into, say, Pride Month, something, by the way, and this also carries over to the other months, like, February, which is African American History Month, Indigenous Peoples Month, Native, Southeast Asian or Asian American Month, Hispanic American Month. This is something that carries over to other months too, where all of a sudden the first thing they say, the second we hit this month, they say is, how come we have an entire month for the LGBTQIA plus community, but we only have 1 day for the veteran? What are you talking about, man? 1 day for the veterans? Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Armed Services Day, D-Day. We have the Flag Day is a pretty good military one. Every single parade throughout summer has a military contingency to it. Every single one. Large community, small community. Every single one has some level of military presence. Well, for the most part, I should say. I can't say for sure all of them, but the vast majority of them do. Heck, the St. Patrick's Day parades have Irish veterans marching in them half the country. We have flags and, we have every sports event we have in this country has military pride draped all over it. Whether it's the flyovers of the stadium, the military people there all through the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, all those football games, what do they got? They got cameras out there saying, let's remember the troops, let's remember the troops, let's remember the troops. Every one of them. We have 1 day we honor this? Come on, man. Heck, I can't even go. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I can't even go to any store without seeing at least some sort of, we salute the veterans, we appreciate the veterans, free veteran parking in the front. Discount for veterans. You show your ID card. We honor the veterans. We could do more. As a veteran, I could say we could do more, but it's not like we're only got one day. You've got to be a pretty blind person to see only one day. And the reason why you do this is because you know your hatred of Pride Month or Black History Month or Indigenous People Month or whatever the month may be. You know your hatred with that comes from bigotry and racism or whatever the case may be. So you try to attach the military to your hatred and act as if it's some sort of valid thing. As a veteran of the military, shut up and stop it. Stop using the military as your crutch to attack other people. You do not speak for the military. You basically are trying to use the military, much like a lot of people try to use the Bible, to basically validate your own personal hatred and bigotry. The reason why we have these months is because these are marginalized communities that do not get recognized through the year. So for 1 month each year, we kind of focus a little bit more on these marginalized communities. And the first thing out of your mouth is to prove why we need these months. Is that you got to stop, yes. I'm sorry, we do not have an uptight jackass month for you. But stop. You don't like it because you don't like the LGBTQIA community, fine. But stop trying to validate or turn your bigotry into some sort of honorable argument, because all you're doing is you're disgracing the military with your stupidity. Because I can tell you one thing, there's a lot of LGBTQIA plus people who have fought for this country and have sacrificed for this country. So shut up, all right? Now, that being said, I also want to mention another thing before we get into this next story, because I want to make sure people understand this, because there's this tendency when it comes to sports in this country to, when things go bad, they want to fall back on the argument of, well, it's just a sport. Sports leagues in this country are desperate to turn themselves into one of the family. It's tradition. It's Saturday, college football. You and your family tailgating, grilling. We've got the game. We're with you. We're part of your life. It's Sunday. We got games all day. Get your kids in their favorite jerseys. Sit down and get ready for 9 hours of TV watching. Yee. You know, we have this. This is a common thing. This is a common thing. They want you to get the season tickets, but not just the season tickets. You got to pay for the warming house seats, the fee that you have to pay just to buy the season tickets. You have the 19 jerseys that you put on out, the 19 uniforms, the 19 caps. You want us to go out and buy the $20 beers, the $15 hot dogs. You want us to feel as if it is part of our lives, part of our community, and part of who we are. That is the identity that you are trying to achieve with sports. And every single one of them is out there. Now, when it comes down to, really representing the community, some teams do it better. I will give the Twins a lot of credit. I give Minnesota United a lot of credit. The Lynx a lot of credit. T-Wolves some credit on this. NFL, the Vikes a little bit. There's a lot of teams out there that when it comes to understanding they're part of a community, that community is a wide branching community. It's not just, one group of the community, it's everyone. And some of these groups have really opened that up, and that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. Some teams, I will criticize the NHL very directly. They have become somewhat pretty bad with the LGBTQIA community. They have become really bad. It's very unacceptable what's happened over there. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't some teams that have stood up to the NHL and there aren't some players that have stood up to the NHL, but the NHL's desire to appease Putin and make sure that the Russian hockey players can still keep playing in the NHL, they've adopted a less than welcoming stance. But hey, they're not going to turn away that LGBTQIA dollar, are they? Not at all. Not in the least bit. You want to create a system where you are identified as a sports team, as the identity of that community. And there really isn't much of a way that these people today, they bank on their celebrity, whether it's a player or a coach. I criticized Mike Tice when he was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings for going down to a George W. Bush rally down in Rochester. Now, does he have a right to go down there? Absolutely. But was he there as Mike Tice, regular citizen? Nope. He was there as Minnesota Vikings football head coach Mike Tice. And there's a reason why. When Red McCone's on that team, the Twins got a new stadium, the Gophers got a new stadium, but the Vikings, they didn't get a stadium until they sold it. They didn't tell, they got Ziggy involved. They basically, and they got Tice out of here. And whoever that color guy that was on the broadcast that basically called all Democratic voters idiots. They didn't tell, because they understood it doesn't do you much good if you say, we're part of the community, but we hate Democrats in a state that votes Democrat pretty consistently. You see, is you have to have the public perception. And once again, Mike Tice has a right. He had a right, and he still has a right to go out there and support any politician he wants to. But if he puts his name as his job, as the identity, as the football coach, or if anyone does as a player, well, then you're up for grabs. And your thoughts should matter. I am stunned this following story has not been reported that much here in the Twin Cities. I got this from Canada, from Toronto. All is not well in the self-proclaimed state of hockey. And for Minnesota's PWHL franchise, things keep getting worse. First was the team's general manager, Natalie Darwitz, a legend in the state who was inducted into the IIHF Hall of Fame last month, was let go by the league, only a week after Minnesota won its first championship in league history. The league, which does own all 6 teams, wouldn't share why, only saying it conducted a long internal and external review of Darwitz's leadership, but according to The Athletic, indicates that the power clash between Darwitz and the head coach, Ken Klee, with whom some of the veteran players, including Kendall Coyne Schofield, one of the driving forces behind the league's existence, sided with the coach, and so Darwitz was out. On Monday night's draft in St. Paul, though, the rift was on full display. Some fans jeered Klee. Later, he selected perhaps the most controversial player available. And at the end of the night, rumors swirled that the active player might be in talks to become the team's next general manager. With Darwitz gone, Klee led Minnesota through the draft and the second round. He selected forward Britta Curl out of the University of Wisconsin, an explosive offensive talent who has drawn eyes recently for the wrong reasons, her support on social media of transphobic and anti-LGBTQIA plus rhetoric. In June of 2023, Curl, once again, I went and looked at her Twitter account. Very clearly, this is not private account there. She has put herself out there that she's got her player profile on there. She talks hockey. This is her player profile account. My mentality is this. You want a private account? Fine. Go make a private account and keep it private. But if you are an athlete and you have a public account, which you do, this is fair game. Period. In June of 2023, Curl reposted a post on Twitter from the Daily Wire, a conservative news website founded by right-wing commentator Ben Shapiro, promoting the documentary What is a Woman? The film fearlessly questions the logic behind a gender ideology movement that has taken aim at women and children, the Daily Wire's website reads. In May of 2023, Curl liked a post from conservative commentator Candace Owens calling American retailer Target, by the way, a little bit of an important company in Minnesota hockey team, and openly perverted company for a long time. That's when Candace Owens, she liked this post. This is our new draft pick for the women's hockey team. She liked a post calling American retailer Target an openly perverted company for a long time. It's reference to its collection honoring LGBTQIA plus communities. I'll get to Target here in a little bit. Many million times worse than Bud Light and worthy of a being boycott out of existence, Candace Owens wrote. She liked this. She plays in Minnesota now, Target's headquarters, and she likes the idea of running Target out of business. That's what she liked, not me. I'm just pointing this out. She also liked to post in 2021 supporting Kyle Rittenhouse. Jesus. Who fatally shot 2 people in Wisconsin during protests following the shooting of Jacob Blake Jr. by police. When asked where he had spoken to anyone in the LGBTQIA plus community prior to making the pick, Klee defended Curl. Did I speak to anyone from the community? I talked with players, with coaches. That's tough to answer for me, Klee said. Okay. I spoke with a lot of different people. I mean, at the end of the day, I was told she's a great teammate, a great person. She's obviously a great player. Okay. Once again, we're back to the, don't focus on what she likes and what she endorses. She's just here to play hockey, Matt. Come on, Matt. She's just here to play hockey. Why are you focusing on this? Oh, I imagine Target's kind of going to have some interesting questions. Each selection at the draft was announced by a special guest with a team representative standing next to each of them at the podium. Minnesota's selection of Curl was announced with assistant coach Mira Geloso, J-A-L-O-S-U-O. And forgive me, Geloso. All right? So Mira Geloso. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. My bad. She's a lesbian, and she was on the stage with this person. We have people in that community, and obviously Mira making that selection for us, I think it speaks volumes for us. Did Mira know about the post that Britta Curl likes? Because I would have some questions on whether or not she would want to be on the stage with a person who has said this. I mean, we have people in the community, and obviously Mira making that selection for us. I think that speaks volumes for us. But did she know about Britta Curl's likes on social media? Of the extreme kind. Klee was already a controversial figure in St. Paul. 2 fans in attendance at Roy Wilkins Auditorium held signs in support of Darwitz. Klee is not enough. One read, "Bring back Darwitz." The other said, Klee was booed by someone when she walked on the stage for Minnesota's first pick, according to Heather Rule of the Minnesota Hockey Magazine. "We were just trying to pick the best player available. I wouldn't want anything to take away from any of those players' experience. It's unfortunate a little bit at the beginning, but again, it's okay. People are entitled to their opinion." Are they? Okay. So this is a person who has gone against Target, endorsed Kyle Rittenhouse, and has basically supported an anti-LGBTQIA post, and your whole thing is we're going to agree to disagree? This isn't just someone who says, oh, well, I mean, what would be a moderate stance on this, anything today? I don't know. It's not like someone saying that a person has a right to, I'll go with the Rittenhouse thing. Someone has a right to defend their property if there's trouble outside. All right, I agree with that. But that wasn't Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse went out there and shot those people because he was a dumbass kid who's been turned into a cultural warrior hero for you people because he shot liberals and because the judge fixed that trial in Wisconsin. Once again, you need to get the jerseys. You need to buy the season tickets. We're part of the community. What's with this person? She's just a hockey player, man. What are you doing? We're just a hockey player. Why are you making this into a big deal? Because you guys kick open our doors all the time and tell us we have to care about these teams. That's not on us. That's on you. An extra layer of intrigue for Minnesota revolved around Amanda Kessel, the 32-year-old U.S. national team veteran who has been seen as one of the top players entering the draft. Instead, she went unselected until the second last pick when Montreal took her. The potential reason, speculation swirled that she's in the talks with Minnesota to become the team's next general manager. She already works in a Pittsburgh Penguins front office and as a special assistant to general manager, president of hockey operations, Kyle Dubas. Draft night ended another layer of what is quickly becoming a rocky offseason for Minnesota. Yeah, we kind of need some answers here. Because, yeah, I'd have some problems if any player, well, let's go with Butker down in Kansas City. When he goes on out there to a college where women are graduating and basically paraphrasing, hey, chickie poos, you got your degree, now go home and get me a beer and make me something nice to eat. Paraphrasing. You heard me say that. I'm paraphrasing, but not too much, am I? Yeah, we need a little bit more of an answer on why that wasn't something you factored into your draft selection. And I guarantee you, there's a lot of people who are LGBTQIA and friends of the LGBTQIA plus community who have some questions about why did we draft her? And I got to imagine Target's got some questions too, because I can't imagine Target likes the idea of this player that wants to run us out of business, likes posting about shutting us down. I don't know if you paid attention here. Target has their name on quite a few sports venues in this town. And I'm going to guess has a few logos around over in St. Paul, too. I'm going to just guess. That's just the way things go. Oh, but that's right. Now that this has come to light, she's just there for hockey. We're only looking for a good quality player. Okay, sure. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Once again, not from a Minneapolis-based news source, although Bring Me the News, MinPost, posted this in their daily glean. This story comes from Toronto. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break, come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Allô? Bonjour.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Nice to be with you today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. No, I need you to explain it. Did you know about the social media posts prior to drafting her? Because if you did, I would love to hear you explain how that was not a non-starter. Once again, I want to repeat something else from this story. Amanda Kessel, who is an amazing, talented hockey player, she basically dropped until the second to last pick because there were rumors she might become the general manager of Minnesota. But yet you have someone that's made those kind of social media posts, and at no point did you say, maybe we could, is there anyone else available? Or no, she didn't make those social media videos. Let me clarify really quick. She liked various posts that endorsed such things as boycotting Target and Kyle Rittenhouse and anti-LGBTQ propaganda in a town like Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hey, maybe your mentality was, you know what, we're going to get her in here. We're going to get her into some rooms. We're going to get her like this. But I don't get the impression that that's what you're up to right now. I kind of get the impression it's like, you're entitled to your own opinion. As long as she plays hockey, but then just don't ask us for massive amounts of money. Don't ask us, this is part of the community. And I'll tell you right now, you had better be sitting down with this player and talking to her about, we sure as heck don't want you out there especially as we're trying to appeal to kids in the city to get them here at our games about this stuff. Like I said, you want to have your own private Twitter account. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the story. Twitter has gone and hidden all the likes now. And someone said to me, it's like, well, this is because they don't want people seeing who's clicking on porn and stuff. Well, that's part of it. But I actually think it's far more to do with stuff like this. Because now the people who endorse hate can hide in plain sight. That's what this is. So now we got this story courtesy of the Toronto newspaper, but now that likes are hidden, will we see that? Well, and one of the things I will say is you may not be able to see people's likes now, but I guarantee you they've cached everything up until this point. So I guess that's going to be our standard bearer. But once again, Elon Musk, the way he keeps running the Twitter, it ain't doing well. Speaking of screwing QIA Pride Month, Target. I mean, since I brought you in here, it's time to give you guys a bit of a tongue lashing. A number of artists Target's tapped to design part of its 2024 Pride collection have taken to social media to lament the retailer's product development process, including last-minute cuts, drastically altered designs, wasted products, and little recognition. This is the latest controversy for the Minneapolis-based company that has struggled to find footing after the LGBTQ issues after conservative backlash about some Pride items last year contributed to the retailer's dipping sales. In response, Target decided this month to sell a smaller selection of Pride merch in fewer stores, although all items are available online. It is a regression back to pre-2021 when Target first began offering the collection in honor of June's Pride Month in all stores. Target maintains the Pride designers went through the same rigorous process of all the collections, whether including working directly with third-party vendors and started Target itself. Merchandising expert Liz Amlani said retailers usually make drastic cuts to collections, but said there was a reason Target was more critical of its Pride items this summer. Think of what happened last year, she said, referencing how some Target employees endured in-store altercations because of 2023's controversy. Target is playing it safe. They are playing it safe because they want to keep their people safe. But for the 2024 designers who started working with Target 6 months before the 2023 collection when ever went on sale, seeing the slow unraveling of their work has been hard to stomach. I didn't receive any direct communication from Target when this was happening, said artist N.Z. Lowe of Girl, Grrl, spells, said of last year's backlash affecting the design process for this year. We're kind of just sitting and waiting in horror, worried about what might happen. Last fall, C. Lowe, who's Canadian, heard Target would reduce their contributions from 15 to 7 or 8. In January, it was down to 4. That eventually fell to just one online item only shortly before the collection went up for sale, dashing C. Lowe's hopes of traveling to the U.S. for the first time to see the works in a physical store. At Target, we work with thousands of vendors, designers, and creators on an annual basis. The process finalizing our assortment regularly includes design edits and product changes with the goal of creating a relevant assortment that will drive sales. We value our partners' collaboration and creativity in achieving that shared goal. Now, you screwed up last year, Target, but not by offering LGBTQIA products. That's called offering the community what they want. You screwed up because a bunch of howler monkeys decided to try to... Do you remember that guy that went out to the General Mills out on 394 and tried to burn Cheerios and nearly set himself on fire? Remember that guy? You know what happened when he did that? We laughed and laughed and laughed. Today, Target says, oh, maybe we got to cave to their wishes and demands. Nope, you cowered out. You chickened out. You should have had security grab those people by the nape of the neck, threatened to sue them if they misrepresented Target in any way, shape, or form, and thrown their asses out of your store and said you cannot come in another store ever again. And because you didn't have the guts to stand up for what you say you stand up for, now you're dealing with the consequences because you look weak. Oh, fine. Okay, sure, you offer some stuff in a handful of safe stores where we might not get those people coming in here. And you offer, 3 or 4 items? Great. And it's all online now. It's because you guys should have done what you needed to do. You know how proud of you I would be? I remember the whole Steinhoffel thing when Steinhoffel was in charge out there. The guy that named a distribution center in India after himself. Oh, God. I remember when did he kill an album with Lady Gaga? Was it Gaga that he killed an album with because he didn't want, he basically, it was, she was a little bit, hey, maybe you should be nicer to the LGBTQIA population. And he said, nope. Wasn't it something like that? I can't remember the whole details.
I think so. And
wasn't
there also,
him.
yeah, there was a deal too where didn't he want people like not making eye contact with him or something?
He was a hoot, man.
Yeah,
he was the worst man. I remember when people I know who work at Target would say it's like he came in and everyone had to wear a suit and a tie like it's 1983 again. Just, as one person said, I got to wear my costume today. Yeah, he was not liked. I've done well with you. Hey, I like Target. I do. My Target store does have LGBTQIA plus stuff because we're not a bunch of ignorant bigots. There you go. I could care less. In the same sense as I don't walk into a hardware store and say, ball peen hammers. I don't do that. Why? Because I'm sane. All those people that you allowed to basically, you allowed yourselves to grovel to were crazed people, were people driven by hate. And all you had to do was say, well, we arrested these people for violating our store. We will sue them if they misrepresent our company with any of their video product. And we have barred them from the store because we don't tolerate hate. Nope, you didn't do that. And here you are now still saying, how can we look like we're pro-pride without really being pro-pride? Jon Stewart took you guys down brilliantly on Monday night with his dogging on the fact that, what are you guys doing? Now, his argument was, you don't have to do anything. But if you're going to go do this, don't trip over yourself. I'll tell you what, I'll come back. I'll talk more about this when I do return. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Products noticeably missing from the Target's Pride collection this year include items for children like onesies. Gone are also shirts and accessories emblazoned with provocative, often pun-filled pro-LGBTQ messaging. In 2022's collection, the year after all stores began selling Pride merchandise, there are more than 250 pieces this year. Target's website lists a little more than 60 items marked as June Pride Month. So, basically 1/4 of what they had, 25%. Some of what the designers have described as typical during the assortment planning process of major retailers, founding that retail company, the woman from the retail consulting company stated, for the most part, companies almost always over-assort a product mix. Adding retailers can go from 100 items down to 50 easy. For a retailer like Target, it could take a year or longer to go from product concept to what's on shelves. Many cuts to collections and final decisions happen late in the process. My mom was a trends buyer for a major company, and they're working on not next year's, but the years after stuff right now on what's going to be popular, the colors, the patterns, the designs, the styles. I get that, but still, you have people here that are thinking something is going to happen, and apparently it doesn't happen. Based on her interactions with Target last year, Amlani said she believes that any changes the retailers made to this year's collection are more about trying to keep employees safe from altercations than it might happen in stores than about supporting or not supporting LGBTQ community. Not every Pride designer has been critical of Target. Rob Smith, chief executive and founder of the gender-exclusive apparel brand Fluid Project, said he had nothing but positive experiences with Target. Target features several T-shirts from Fluid Project with rainbow motifs as part of its Pride collection. But, clearly there seems to be a lot of people that have been involved that, especially from the LGBTQIA side and the designing side, that don't feel as if there was communication back with them. Target, okay, I'm not going to endorse a Candace Owens, tweet that says you should be shut down. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to ask you to do better. Because I know people from the LGBTQIA community that work for you. They work in your stores. They work at your corporate headquarters. You've got to think about what the message you're sending. We as a society have the ability to end a lot of the failures of ourselves when it comes to hate, racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, xenophobia, religious zealotry, whatever the case may be. We have the real beginnings of finally vanquishing this crap. But we only do so when we don't empower the fringe minority and give them the biggest seat at the table. Because that's what we're dealing with here. A fringe minority. We saw what happened. You remember when we got the new flag in Minnesota? We got rid of the flag that, celebrated Manifest Destiny that was about persecuting Native Americans. And we finally said, yeah, maybe 100 and some years after the state was founded, maybe we should, get rid of that. And we did. And there were a lot of people out there, too, that basically, they didn't hide their like of racism, whether that was trying to be racist about the new flag or saying that the old flag was perfectly fine because Native Americans lost. The reality is we should be better people. We should be. We should be striving to be better people. And freedom truly means freedom. Freedom to be who you are at birth, freedom to be who you want, the religion of your choice, and the freedom to be who you are, whether that's gay, straight, LGBTQIA+. And yeah, there are a lot of people out there that are going to be screaming at the top of their lungs to stop it, but it's up to you on whether you want to listen to them or just do the right damn thing. Come on, let's just do the right damn thing, okay? Native Roots Radio is up next. It's a fantastic show. Listen to that. We're back tomorrow. Until then, see ya!